Hello, this is Guy Henry here, and I'm with Chris Gordon on Hellblazer Biz.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, viewers and listeners wherever you may be in the world right now. You are tuned in to Hellblazer Biz with your one and only host, me, Chris Gordon. Apologise, I have been away for several weeks, so it has been a time since I've been here. But I am back, and I have got a whole stack of interviews lined up for you. I've got several, I would say about 5 or 6 already recorded. I've got several more coming along. And we shall see with what... Sorry, my phone pinged. It put me out of my sync. The joys of recording. Anyway, as I say, I've got about 5 or 6 interviews already done. Just need to edit a few together and get those out to you. So I hope you look forward to those. I've got much more coming. Many more lined up, including some with one of my favourite authors at the moment, John P. Logston. Hilarious guy. As well as... a few from some publicists as well, which I'm not going to mention just yet. And hopefully also a few more from SEAL Team. Anyway, this interview which I'm bringing today is one that I have been wanting to do for quite a while. This gentleman is an absolute legend. He is so nice in person. Very funny, very dry-witted. And without further ado, I mean, you know him from Star Wars. Possibly not, because you didn't see his face. He was actually playing, he was doing an homage to the late great Peter Cushing as Grand Moff Tarkin in Star Wars Rogue One. He was also in Harry Potter. You would have known him as the Minister of Magic in the Deathly Hallows, as well as Henrik Hansen in Holby, where he's been for about 10-12 years, I believe. Anyway, without further ado, I should introduce to you the fantastic, brilliant Guy Henry. Hey everyone, I have the honour and the privilege today and the esteemed company of Guy Henry, acclaimed actor, who many will know from Holby, Star Wars, Harry Potter, and the stage, and many other films and TV, because you are very well known, I think, across in many areas.
Well, I'm very old. I've been about a bit, but I've never done this Skype before, so this is. I'm sorry if I look a little self-conscious. And I don't know if the lighting is odd, and I seem to have my office chair poking out of the back of my neck. But anyway,
it's perfectly fine. It's always a first time. I find Skype can be quite temperamental. So yes, it's been, for those who don't realise, that there has been. Trying to get the audio things working on these things can be quite tricky. So, but I really am delighted to speak to you. As I say, I first met you in person in December at Wales Comic Con when you came up for the weekend there. My wife was giddy as anything, and finally meeting Henrik Hansen.
good old Mr. Hansen. He can have that effect,
He does seem to be as well, because when I mentioned.
He's a great character. He's a very eccentric, weird man, whereas, of course, there's nothing odd about me. But he is people warm to his strange coldness, I think.
Yes, definitely. I've got to say, I mean, I follow Holby as well. It's one of the few ones that I do watch. And Henrik is a character that I pick out his dry humour, and he's got a very caring attitude to all his staff. You know, you can see that come through, but he's got a very dry wit, which is brilliant.
Well, what I love about him is he doesn't care who anyone is, what their status is or anything. He admires people who are passionate about their job or about life and but he doesn't care about their standing in society or their rank in the hospital or anything like that. So I think he's a very decent man, but he's had quite a rough time the last year. But we better not talk about him, because there'll be a lot of people watching this who don't watch Holby City. So
there's a fair few questions, but there's a fair few bit at Holby that we will watch. We will talk about, because be all right. I mean, let's say Henrik's the one in my mind at the moment. I will, for people who don't know, obviously get out and watch Holby. That's what I was saying.
Absolutely, it's got BBC One Tuesday nights.
It is.
But he's a very oddball character, but he's a delight to play. And I'm actually very surprised how often the people who come to the Comic Cons, ostensibly I think usually for the Star Wars or Harry Potter or other, they actually are so many, sometimes almost secretly come to say hello to Mr. Hansen as well. So I'm delighted about that, because I love playing him.
Oh no, it's fantastic. I must say, it must be very strange, as you say, you come to a Comic Con where it's a Comic Con. People go for like Harry Potter, Star Wars, and Marvel films, and all these types of things, and yeah, and there's there's the hospital drama, and and you weren't alone from the hospital either. It was Joe McCann it was Joe McCann, isn't it? McGann, sorry.
Paul
McGann, that's
there,
one.
yes, yeah. And of course, I've known him this happens in showbiz sometimes. I've actually known him since drama school. We were in the same term at RADA, 1979 to 81.
Wow.
And it's taken us about 38 years to work together again. He was at Holby as well, so
yeah, definitely.
For a one-off special year. Fantastic to work with him again, see him again. We've been in touch a bit over the years, but not that regularly. So
no, I can imagine it was a very good year as well. I mean, they're very emotional, and like you say, especially for character of Henrik and some of the others, it was a very different thing I can imagine for you to play, because 10 years is it you've been in Holby now?
8 and a half, on and off. They let me go. So in fact, I'm going this year to do a play again.
Okay.
I'm glad to say. They've given me 5 months off. So what they do is they send Henrik with some sort of terrible depressed problem or whatever. In this case, a member of his own family, actually, they send him back to Sweden. So in reality, I'll be on the South Bank in London performing in an Ibsen play. So there is a Scandinavian connection.
Oh, fantastic.
Peer Gynt. It's Peer Gynt, a new adaptation by David Hare, and I'm playing a character called the Weird Passenger, who is probably the devil, in fact.
Right.
They say he has all the best songs, don't they?
Yeah.
Some of the best lines, although I have to say Peer Gynt never shuts up.
True, yeah, I suppose if they name the show after him, he's not going to...
Might as well say a few words in the 5 hours it'll take to tell the story.
Yeah, but they'd always do say that the bad guy has the best lines, and I could actually see, obviously, the way you are a Royal Shakespearean actor as well, and RADA trained and qualified. I actually was going to go for Lambda when I was younger. Younger, I can't even speak now. When I was younger.
Even younger,
yeah.
Well, my son, funny enough, is in line for another recall for Lambda and a couple of the other drama schools as well. So fingers crossed, touch wood for him. See what happens. I'm not sure I want him to go into the business, but if he wants to, then off he must. It's one of those things, and I can't complain about what's happened with me. I've had a fantastic time.
Excellent. It is a very fickle industry as well. I think that's why I didn't go, as my parents at the time I think way back in the early 90s this was, and obviously they steered me in a different... My mum was a headmistress, and so she wanted me an academical route rather than you want a proper job is what everybody says about acting. Acting is a proper job. It's not a job. I find that acting it's a passion and it's a way of life, because you might not always have a role. Like for example, every time we see you as Henrik Hansen, there might be years where you've worked so hard just to get to that stage where you can be seen or in those kinds of roles. And there's 95% of actors are still working at that level, working extremely hard, multiple jobs sometimes, because acting doesn't always pay the bills when you're in the theatre every night. So yeah, it's I'd say it's more of a passion and there's another word for it and I can't think of it off the tip of my tongue.
Vocation.
That's the word. Yes, that was it.
It certainly is a passion, and it's I think one of the tricks is to be tall and thin and odd looking, a bit like me. I mean, I've got lots of perfectly normal height, very pleasant looking friends who are perfectly good actors who barely work at all, because there are so many of them, and the unemployment rate is 92%, I think, at any one time.
Quite high, yeah.
So it is not easy for most people. I do think, though, that if somebody has an absolutely shining, amazing talent, I think that will be noticed. But the rest of us, if you've got long comedy legs like me, that will help.
Yeah, now I'm picturing that in Shakespeare in theatre with all all the tights and the...
Oh, well, I've used my legs to great comedic effect in various old plays. Andrew Aguecheek, of course, was the skinny old fool in Twelfth Night. And I played Malvolio, who has the famous cross-gartered scene in Twelfth Night where I used to shove my comedy legs and various other things at the Olivia and used to go down quite well. So, yes, be tall and spindly. When I was nominated for an award and lost it to a lovely man, Simon Cadell, Simon Cadell, and he was in Travels with my aunt and spent half the evening dressed as a woman, or the whole evening or whatever. I didn't see it, but he very sweetly said to me when he won the award and I lost, and he saw me in the bar afterwards and said, next time dress as a woman. So you'll get it then. It always helps to have something that people can latch on to, I suppose, whatever it is, be it lanky legs or... In fact, when I played Feste in Twelfth Night for the Cheap by Jowl Company, I did the famous nighttime scene where they plot against Malvolio. I did that in drag, and that was the late 80s, and I think I looked a bit like Jan Leeming, the newsreader. And I had the sort of 1980s,
the big shoulder
pads. Yeah.
There's some strange images that are going in my head now.
Steady.
Yeah.
I know, it's terribly giddy, isn't it, the idea of being a frog?
Oh dear. I mean, I actually love the theatre. I really do. As I say, I dabbled in it when I was in university. Obviously, with the drama in A level, etc. An interesting story you might like is the fact that Three Men in a Boat by Jerome K. Jerome, myself and two of my friends at school were the first people in the United Kingdom, possibly the world, to actually do any part of that play, because it had only the screenplay for it had only just been written, I believe.
Oh right. Was that adapted from the book? Yeah,
they'd had it adapted from the book. This version of it, there might have been another one, I'm sure there would have been. The book is that old. But we were told that it was the first time they'd ever adapted it from the book. And it's been played at Theatre Clwyd when I did my GCSEs. And we asked them, could I do it for my GCSE drama, one of the scenes? And they were like, oh yes, please do. So they sent us the script. And before they even had their premiere, we had done it for our GCSE drama play. We'd done one of the scenes from 3 Men in a Boat. So that's my claim to fame.
Did you get a good grade?
I got an A.
There you are. Good old Jerome Drake. Jerome.
Oh, yes. But yeah, I mean, I've loved it. The theatre for me is something that, it always draws me there, because I think there's an intimacy at the theatre that you just don't get on screen. I mean, having a big TV screen in front of your face or a cinema screen, you're there. But with a theatre, I think there's such a much more of an intimate relationship between the actors and what's going on stage and the audience. And for yourself as an actor on stage, every performance can be different because it depends on how the audience take it, I presume.
Yes, I love communicating with the audience. I mean, sometimes I think I've been known to take it too far. Directors have told me so. Cheap, I think, is the word that has come to mind. But Philida Lloyd wrote me a very, the great director, Philida Lloyd, who's done a lot of wonderful theatre work, but also is famous for Mamma Mia to many people, both the first film and the stage adaptation. And anyway, she wrote me a full scat page of abuse about my cheap comedy acting in a play at Stratford.
Oh dear!
But we've got past that since.
Good, I'm glad to hear that.
But no, there is. You're right. There's nothing like suspending your disbelief, or whatever the phrase is, and sitting there in the dark. I mean, that's what actors do. That all we do is tell a story, and people since time immemorial have loved sitting in the dark and being told a story, and that's be it cinema or the theatre. That's it. The trick, I suppose, is to try to do it, even if you're being a bit cheap. Try to do it as credibly and as humanly as you possibly can, so that you help people to believe that you are the person you're prancing around pretending to be, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the only times I can say that I got a laugh I was the night porter. I was actually 5 characters in Macbeth, during a university production to all the school children in the area.
Now.
I know, Terry, touch wood. Turn around 3 times, knock on the door to come.
And come back in again and pretend you've done it.
Yes, I'll pretend I've done it. We did that in my drama. In when I did my school, I had a very acclaimed actor, or as an ex-actor, as a drama teacher, and he would throw everyone out the room. Purely if anyone mentioned it.
It is a silly thing. There's all sorts of rumours about why it was. The genuine superstition that the play brings bad luck, and also that apparently it was terribly popular during a certain period in time. So young actors would always choose it for audition pieces, and the older actors got so fucking fed up with them trotting out famous monologues, which I'm not going to quote, that they tell them, "Oh, don't say that, dear boy. Very unlucky." Don't quote from that play. But I don't know why. But it does have a history of mishap attached to it, that play.
It does, definitely. I mean, when I was in my role as the night porter for the one, I do remember I was sat on stage and I thought everyone was laughing with me. Because obviously the night porter is a comedic character.
I know that feeling.
And then I realised that I was actually sat in a night dress, and I've never worn a night dress before.
Really?
But funny enough, and I was sat there, obviously, hitched it up slightly, sat on the edge of the stage, giving my talk to about 300 secondary school children. And then it dawned on me afterwards when someone said, "By the way, I could see right up your and I was like,
right up your dress.
Oh, thanks for that. Yeah. Thank you for that. That was, there's me thinking I was delivering this really powerful and funny speech, but no.
And there's me thinking I was cheap.
Exactly, got cheap laughs. Yeah. And I was also a lord as well, and we had proper tobacco in the pipes, and I'm not used to smoking those. So we were just chatting away, again, very serious, because the lords, I think we were all talking about the demise or some plotting which was going on, and I happened to bite the pipe, and this bit of tobacco just went whoosh, a huge one, flew right on the floor, and we were right in the midst of all the audience at the time, and I can just see all these people laughing their heads off, and I had tears just streaming down, just standing there trying to get through this very serious soliloquy. As
you're watching, I know that feeling as well. I mean, one of the plays in Stratford that I did was a play called Murder in the Cathedral, or Murder Up Your Vicarage, as I used to call it, which is a very, very serious T.S. Eliot play.
Okay.
You probably know, in verse largely, and there are 4 knights and there are 4 tempters. It's all about good and evil and all that. And we had to sit across the thrust stage at the Swan Theatre in Stratford, us 8 actors, so the 4 knights and the 4 tempters, and utter this terribly meaningful, passionate argument, debate, dialogue across each other. And after it just got to us, of course, because there's nothing more funny than somebody being deadly serious but saying the most outlandish T.S. Eliot poetry. It's all this, oh, it was the paw under the door. It was weird stuff. I used to say it was the funny woman from the greengrocers that did it. But no, laughing on stage, we got to the point where we were genuinely frightened to go on because we couldn't speak, and it's laughing,
Exactly, yeah. They've come to see a very serious and deep play, yeah.
Indeed. The more serious it is, the worse it is. That's the usual rule.
I think so. I went to see I was lucky enough to go and see The Ferryman last year in the West End. Very good play. I don't know if you've seen it or not. That was a Sam Mendes. That was a very good one about obviously the Northern Ireland and the Troubles, and it was very, very well done. But there was some moments in there where they had animals. What were the things you never work with? Children and animals, and they had children and animals on stage. And the one guy picked up this big white goose, and as he was trying to deliver this really bad speech about the fact that obviously the IRA are coming, they're going to kill you, this goose was sitting there nibbling his cardie. And we were all in fits, and the children on stage, bless them, they were very good, very professional, but you could see them just their shoulders going away as this little goose was nibbling and pulling away at his cardie and pulling the threads out. It was great.
Yes, I've never acted with a goose, but I will bear that in mind. There's a Peer Gynt, of course, is another very serious and outlandish play, the one I'm about to do at the National this year. And there is a story about they did it in, I think, Chelmsford Rep, so they weren't overburdened with money in the budget, and so there's a huge scene in the Hall of the Mountain King. You know, the Peer Gynt music is Grieg and all that, very famous. Anyway, the Hall of the Mountain King is peopled by trolls. They're all whatever they are, trolls. But in this particular production, they were actors dressed in doctored costumes from Theatre Zoo, which provides sort of animal costumes, basically. Right. There was quite a large actress called Daphne something, who was in a doctored hippopotamus outfit. And apparently, I wasn't there, but I hope it's true. After this meaningful scene, very, very deeply felt scene, and the trolls are all doing their bit in their whatever costume, the lights flash out, and unfortunately Daphne couldn't see very well through the visor of the hippopotamus mouth or wherever she was supposed to go, and she walked off the front of the stage. And for the whole of the rest of the next serious scene in Peer Gynt, this large actress in a large hippopotamus costume was feeling her way all around the auditorium saying, "Excuse me, I'm so sorry, I can't. Where's the exit?" And all of that. I don't know how they carried on stage.
Oh dear! I mean, I'd love to see something like that go that wrong, just for the pure Schadenfreude of it.
Well, maybe it'll happen at the Olivier this summer.
Well,
space.
Yeah, I'll try to come down to bring the family to come and see. My wife at least to come and see that one. That'd be quite good. But yeah, I mean, you've done the Donmar twice. I've been to the Donmar twice as well. You've done that one, haven't you? You've been there. That's a...
Yes, funny enough, directed by Phyllida Lloyd, so she did forgive me for the cheap acting at Stratford. I played rather serious, Earl of Leicester, in a production of Mary Stuart, about Mary Stuart, obviously, and Queen Elizabeth. Lovely Harriet Walter was Queen Elizabeth, and that was one of the best things I've done, actually. Yeah. Because I'm not a natural Earl of Leicester, who's supposed to be rather a notorious seducer who Elizabeth I had a loving relationship with, etc., etc. But Phyllida, with her fierce direction, and indeed Harriet with her wonderfulness, helped me along, and it was one of the best things I've done. Because it's easy for me, as I mentioned, with the comedy legs and with the eccentric sort of sense of comedy. I can forget that actually I can be serious as well.
Yeah.
Well, Henrik Hansen's fairly serious. Mr. Cushing, Tarkin is quite serious.
Yeah, definitely. I'll get onto that in a shortly, because that was a very when we saw that, we sat there, and to be fair, we sat in the cinema watching it, and I heard the voice, and I was sitting there forever trying to picture it, and I was like, I know, because I didn't realise it was yourself, and I know that voice because you did a very, very good Peter Cushing. It was very dear, and I was like,
I'm not a mimic, so all I could do was do a tribute, really, and try to sound as like him as I possibly could. So I don't feel it's the most brilliant, accurate impersonation, but it was an evocation of him, if you like, and an impression of him, and I'm happy that it turned out, as well as it did, really, because I have to say I was bricking it while I was doing the show. We were filming it. Well, because we didn't know whether any of the CGI would work. We didn't know whether they'd actually use me. They didn't, we didn't know what the hell it was going to be like. And because about 42% of the movie was reshot, I think, is that they kept rapping me, as they call, so that's the end of Guy's performance, thank you very much, goodbye. And I go, thank God, I'm terrifying. And then a week later, my secret agent would ring up and say they would like to come back. Of course, being neurotic, you always think it's your fault. I thought, oh my God,
what have I done wrong now?
What have I done now? No, they've rewritten another bit. So I went backwards and forwards to Pinewood with all my dots and the cam, and it's a very strange. I've never done anything like that before, and it was a very, strange way of working. It's hard enough. You're pretending to be somebody else, and in my case, and you're trying to forget you are, but you can't really forget that too much when you've got the head cam on and the dots, with these two big lenses in front of your face, and a real actor, there like you're acting with them, but there's this barrier of this camera, and it was quite frightening, I must say. But then in my case, of course, I was pretending to be this bloke called Tarkin, but what I was really pretending to be was a wonderful actor called Peter Cushing, who I'd always admired, being Tarkin. So I was acting at a sort of third remove, if you like.
Yeah.
Very strange. It was quite a
surreal,
quite a difficult thing, but I'm privileged to have done it. Although I was pretty nervous at the time. So.
I can imagine. My friend Anthony Vickers was actually asking. You've answered half of what he was going to say anyway, but the other one was he would like to. Were you able to wear slippers at the time in homage to the late great Peter Cushing?
Yes, he wore slippers because he had huge feet and the boots didn't fit or something.
Yeah.
I've got fairly big feet, of course. Otherwise I'd fall over. But I wore the boots. Yeah, I didn't go down the slipper line. No. I wore the boots.
Fantastic.
And I think there was that. Cushing always used to do this gesture, which I did try to get in. Was it this? Anyway, this sort of finger wagging admonishment sort of mannerism he had in the role, and I did try and get that in a few times, but obviously if there were lots of rewrites and reshoots, then obviously per se quite a lot of things were cut.
Yeah.
So, including my scene with Darth Vader, who I saw the other day. I was in Cardiff doing an episode of Casualty because it's the same hospital as Holby City.
Yeah.
Those who don't know, it's the same medical drama and same.
Just split into two.
And one's in Cardiff. The AD, the casualty department, is in Cardiff, and the rest of the hospital is in Elstree, Boreham Wood, where I normally work. But I was down Casualty the other day in Cardiff, doing Casualty the other day, and Spencer Wilding, who played Darth Vader when I was on the film, there being a wonderful monster in Doctor Who.
Oh, fantastic! He's
a lovely man.
He is.
I did have a scene with him, and they cut that, unfortunately. I did do that in stockinged feet, because although Spencer is a great big kickboxer from Rill, that's what his background is, so he's a very big chap. Yeah. But then I'm taller than Peter Cushing was, so I was too tall. Darth Vader should be taller than me. So I did have to play that in my stockinged feet with my knees bent. But that's it.
Oh, that's a shame. I do actually know Spencer. I've known Spencer for about 25 years.
Have you really?
Yeah, I live in Prestatyn next to Rill, and I knew Spencer when he was a bouncer at the nightclubs in Rill. And he used to teach me kickboxing a long, long time ago. That's right. Yeah,
well, he only lives at that. He's done people a lot of good, I think. People...
He has, yeah. He still lives about 1.5 miles away from me.
Oh, right. Well, there you go.
When I used to do my wrestling, there's a little events arena next door. Well, next door where I say it's a couple of 100 yards away from where I live. I used to wrestle there a few years ago, and he used to teach. Well, I don't know if he still does teach the kickboxing there. He still does, even though he
does teach still. I think he's very proud of doing it because
he is.
It's very good for people, and sometimes in particularly out of the big metropolises. I filmed a series years ago in Ludlow in Shropshire, and there were so many young people hanging around the market square of this lovely town in Shropshire at night with absolutely nothing to do. There's not. I mean, the nearest cinema was in Oswestry, about 30 miles away or 25 miles away or whatever. And so I think to give people a focus, an interest, and something like that is very, very valuable.
It is, definitely. I mean, and you're right. He's a towering man, 6'8", I believe he is.
Is he?
I'm sure he's 6. I'm sure I heard. Was it 6'8" or was it? I'm positive it was 6'8". I might be wrong. It might be 6'5".
Well, he wasn't tall enough for me.
Yeah, you still had to go down on your knees.
With my knees bent.
That's classic. But yeah, no, I've known Spencer for a while, so it's great to see him in doing, as like you say, doing so well. Because and from somewhere like Real, which is a very deprived area, and seeing, because as I say, I knew him when he was a bouncer years and years ago. So seeing
Did he
him
throw you out?
Yeah, probably more than one occasion, to be fair.
Really good.
Oh yes, right and proper it was as well. So, but to see him doing so well, because he's done quite a lot of like Doctor Who, and he's been in Harry Potter as well. He was Sirius Black as the Wolf, I believe, and things like that. Yes, it was Sirius. No, it wasn't Sirius Black. It was Lupin, Professor Lupin, I believe. I think he was when he turned into the werewolf.
Okay.
A long time ago. That's my knowledge. I won't test you on yours.
Okay. Well, no, he's great. He is. He's carved a niche in that department. As I say, I last saw him at a Comic Con, I think in Germany, and there he was in Cardiff the other day in Doctor Who, being a monster. But he's a lovely big thing in real life.
Oh, he is. I remember for the Rogue One premiere, they had it in real, and he was dressed as Vader. And he came marching down the streets in real with obviously the 1st or the 501st who dressed as stormtroopers. They were all behind him, and they marched properly right in to the cinema and everything. It was pretty good. And I will say as well, Rogue One, by the way, when Tarkin came on, gave me goosebumps because I grew up on Star Wars. That's my big my big thing. And so going into Rogue One, I think there was a lot of skepticism because it was the first Disney one, wasn't it? The first one away from the main.
Yeah,
and
I don't know, but yes.
Yeah, and I believe
it's known as a Star Wars story, isn't it?
Yeah, Star Wars story.
It's not part of the saga.
Correct. Yeah, it's a separate
sort of complementary adjunct. Yeah.
And I will say that the majority of people that I speak to actually think stand it up as one of the best Star Wars films ever, and I hold my hands up and say it definitely is, because it has every essence of what Star Wars should be. And then we have the lovely tributes of Tarkin coming in, and obviously Leia at the end, which just I was all bubbly then. I was like, oh,
Well, I'm glad I'm not. I have to be absolutely honest and say that I've never been into the Star Wars saga at all. So, and you're right though. So I'm a little bit ignorant of it. I know what's been fascinating about doing all the Comic Con things is you realise how many people are love it so much, which is fantastic. I mean, I knew it was a huge international thing. I'm not silly, but I have been touched really by how much people love it, and it's been a joy to be a part of that, really. And I'm glad you called it a tribute to Peter Cushing, because I know that understandably people would think that it's, particularly before, when there were rumours and people heard he might be in it and all that. I think there was thoughts that it was only a gimmick, that it wouldn't be, but it's not. It is a tribute, A, to a wonderful, wonderful character, and B, to a fantastic actor, Peter Cushing. So if it had been a piss take, I really wouldn't have wanted to do it, I have to say. But it's not. It was done with every good intention.
Oh, it is, definitely. And I think that does come across, I think, on the screen. And it's the same with Carrie Fisher at the end with Leia, with the young Leia and stuff. It was done. I mean, obviously she was alive when they filmed it and passed away. And that's, I think that was the night we saw that. Actually, was the night we came home and heard the news.
Really?
It was. Yeah, it was very. It was. Yeah, it was. We watched, because she has the scene at the end of Rogue One, doesn't she? Where we see her turn round, and again it was like. that moment, obviously, for a geek like me, and then we came out and we literally just heard the news, and that was it. It was like, whoa.
Yeah, it's a great shame. By all accounts, a lovely, lovely woman.
Definitely, yeah. Did you ever get to meet Peter Cushing in a way?
No, sadly. I mean, he did die a very long time ago.
It was in the 80s, wasn't it?
I could have met him. I could have done. I didn't. I do know, though.
I wasn't insinuating that you're extremely old there, by the way.
No, I know you weren't. No, but I could have easily met him, but I didn't. And I thought I had a lovely review that the actress who plays Jack Naylor in Holby, Rosie Marcel, the woman, great friend of mine, and she sweetly sent me a link to a review, because I didn't get reviews, on most of them didn't mention me by name. It was kept to such a secret. The end credits. So I don't quite know why most people didn't mention me by name, even when they were praising the performance. And I cherished the one that Rosie sent me, which said the best performance in the movie comes from an actor who's been dead for 22 years. I thought, yes, we've done it. Very good.
Yeah.
He was a genuinely a great favourite of mine, Peter Cushing. So I didn't want to let him down. I didn't want to let Disney and Lucas down, didn't want to piss them off, but more importantly, I didn't want to not be good enough as Peter Cushing. I'm not Peter Cushing, I'm me paying tribute to him and that role, but I'm pleased that people haven't thought it was a laughing stock, I must say, because that would have been bad. In fact, his secretary, I believe, we were told this at a Comic-Con, my agents and I'm not using the royal we now, but I was doing Comic-Con and this couple came up and said that they'd taken his secretary, who I think was really the only person that the film company consulted in a way and said, do you think, is it okay, will you mind? And she's, I think, said no, because as long as you do it well. Yeah. Because he didn't have any children, so his wife, as we all know, died long before him, and he missed her for his whole lifetime, I understand. So she, I think, forgive me if I've got this wrong, but I think her name was Joyce, and the couple came and said that they'd been to see the film with her, and then when Cushing came on as Tarkin, she apparently said, with a tear in her eye, she said, "Oh, Sir is back." I thought was very, if it's true, and
I've heard that myself. I've actually heard that.
If it isn't true, then I apologise.
I've heard that one myself.
Oh, well, good, because you really don't want to muck that up. I mean, it's a dodgy thing to do. You're impersonating somebody without their permission, long after they've died. It is a tribute. That's it.
Definitely, and that's what it was seen as well. I mean, you mentioned someone there as well during that time, and I've got to say, because I've got to mention her, because she's someone I'd love to meet one day, and that's Rosie Marcel, because her character Jack, I don't know why on Holby I seem to draw myself to the ones like Henrik, like Jack, who seem to be very, very straight-laced and really outwardly hostile in some areas, but underneath, you just got to look underneath. And they're trying to hide the most caring people underneath.
Exactly. That's always the dry, desiccated old thing, like Goodbye, Mr. Chips. He thaws, as the teacher. It's people do like that character, and also, again, we go back to the thing about the baddies, as it were, having some of the best lines.
Definitely.
Rosie is her character, Jack Naylor, is very funny, and she is a brilliant actress. I love working with her. She's fantastic.
Yeah, definitely. I think you are right. I mean, this week we just saw her saying goodbye to Petrenko, and obviously all the way through there were those catty comments, but at the end, the true friendship and the true, passion, love, or friendship of love between them showed through when Petrenko wanted to leave. So it was good. And again, it's because when you see someone on screen, like when we met you for the first time in December, my wife has not stopped talking about it. To be fair, because she said, obviously,
God, I'm sorry about that.
Oh no, it's like, come on already, please.
What was I said?
Because obviously, yourself in person, obviously you're acting the role, so we see Henrik on, and obviously she likes Henrik anyway, thinks he's a fantastic character. But in the likes of Rosie and Jack is that character. But Rosie, from every account that I've heard, is the loveliest person off screen. A total opposite.
She's not a pushover, Rosie, but she's I love her dearly. Yeah, she's fantastic. Yes, and I'm not like, I mean, I've been just fiddling with my bits of paper here, making sure they're straight on my desk, not a line of pencils, actually. But so, I mean, I think that's what's lovely about the Hansen character is I've done so much Shakespeare and, plays by people who have been dead for hundreds of years. And you know that Andrew Aguchi and Malvolio and whoever else I've been, Mosca in Volpone, the lovely Ben Jonson play, and da-di-da-da. You know that hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of actors have played them over literally hundreds of years, whereas Hansen is mine. They created this character, and they employ you with a sort of template character, and they swiftly realise what perhaps your strengths are, and crucially your weaknesses, and they can tailor the writing to that. And I did swear that I'd never turn into one of those actors who says, "Oh, my character would never say that." And I've heard myself say that regularly. He's like, he is. Yeah. I've helped to create this character, and I'm very touched, I must say, that people warm to him. I think it's lovely. I'm very pleased about that.
No, I can imagine it's something that you've nurtured. It's always something good that you can just go in and, like you say, as opposed to Shakespeare over the hundreds of years. I've actually got some questions here. I'm gonna skip a few because obviously I've kept you chatting for a very long time.
So, no, I never shall. I'm a windbag.
No, I was to say this is great. I've got one of my listeners. He's in Canada. He's a French Canadian, Simon Barry-Brizois, and he's dug back into your past. And some we're not that far past. He says one of your first films was Lady Jane. Yes. Where you worked along with Helena Bonham Carter, Judi Dench, Carrie Elwes and Patrick Stewart. He'd like to know how it was working on such a historical movie with so many important figures, and then some of them obviously from there just going woomph in
Funny enough, I was the Earl of Leicester in that film as well.
Oh, okay.
Robert Dundee became Earl of Leicester, so I'd forgotten that. It was absolutely fantastic. I mean, it was 1984, I think it was, and it was the first. It wasn't the first film I'd done. I was in another country before that. But I was very young, and it was one of the first things I'd ever done. Big things like that, Paramount Pictures and all these famous old actors. And it was an absolute joy. Helena was, who I adore to this day. She's lovely. She was, at that time, she was a teenager. Yeah. And I think she was doing her A-levels or something. Anyway, she was quite an eccentric teenager, delightful. But she came down, we were having dinner, all of us, the company, Trevor Nunn. So Trevor was the director of it, and he knows how to handle actors. And she was a young girl, she was in her teens still, younger than me, you see. And she did come. I remember we were having a dinner in the Holiday Inn in Dover, very glamorous. And I think it was there, she came down very late for this sort of company dinner with her face painted white. And Trevor just said, "Go back upstairs, take that off." Very silly. But she was brilliant. I mean, that was a real challenge for her, and she was great. It was a lovely, lovely time, that was. Very naughty time. One day we did a lot of partying, which I'm quite for, I have to say, but we did a lot of partying on that one. And there was a huge banqueting scene where I had to, we were all dancing around, and all those old, furry, hairy, heavy costumes. The heat inside the banqueting hall was immense, and the food had been there. The prop food had been real prop food, had been hanging around for at least 2 days, and the stench was fairly disgusting. And I was so hungover from whatever party we'd been at the night before that I was virtually chucking up at the between takes. And Trevor Nunn sweetly came up to me and said, "I know you're a hungover guy. I'm very sorry. I can't stop filming just for you." And I said, "Oh."
Yeah.
But no, it was a great thing. That lovely job to get. Fantastic.
Fantastic, excellent. And he's obviously, in the next question he has, he's got 4. And I thought they're a nice
Oh,
question,
right,
so I thought
okay.
I'd ask you, yeah.
I'll try and make my next answer a bit shorter.
That's right.
Just going to have some non-alcoholic lager. Just saying, I'm what a party person I am. I'm actually on the wagon. So there.
Okay,
This is Beck's Blue.
Oh, lovely. I've got orange
I don't even drink lager normally, but non-alcoholic wine is literally undrinkable. So I'm drinking this.
It is. It's piss and vinegar. Yes.
Well, it's great. It's horrible. Anyway, yes. Sorry.
It's just fruit juice, really, isn't it? So, for Harry Potter, you played a crucial role in the last part of the saga. How did you get into the role of the character, and did J.K. Rowling meet you at all, or give you any background info about the character, as she has done with others?
No, I think I met her in passing a couple of times, but never on the set. Never. She leaves them to it by quite a lot, I think. I mean, I wasn't an important enough character, I think, for her to do anything like that. I got all the help I needed from the lovely director David Yates, who, very briefly, I'll just say, because I know I keep talking.
No, please.
He directed a thing called The Young Visitors, which is a strange Victorian piece, which Jim Broadbent starred in, about a socially mobile but very thick. I can't remember the plot exactly, but it's a famous book actually, so I should. But anyway, Jim Broadbent played this chap, and I was his etiquette teacher. I was trying to teach him how to use a knife, fork, spoon. I was sort of like a dominatrix, only whatever the male version is. Anyway, so I did a day's filming on that, and we did lots of improvisation, and it was fun. And David Yates kindly said to me afterwards, "So that was very good, and I will come up with something for you in the future. I'd happily work with you again." And I said, "Thank you very much," thinking, yes. Heard that before, don't be silly. And then years later, probably 5 years later, I don't know, my secret agent rang up and said they've offered you Harry Potter. And I was not, again, a fan of Harry Potter. I don't think I'd seen any of the films. And I rather grandly said yes, and what's the role? And he said, Tom from my agent's office said, "No, you don't understand. You're not doing a screen test. They've offered you Harry Potter." And I said, "Oh, well, fine." And then I grew to love it. I watched the whole saga all the way through. My flatmate at the time said, "You must watch it if you're going to be in it." So I said, "Oh." And of course, I loved it. And I love Richard Harris. I mean, he was...
Oh, he was phenomenal.
I think. And that was a very happy set and a very happy thing to do.
Lovely. I know, no disrespect to Michael Gambon, but yeah, Richard Harris for me was epitome of Dumbledore in that. He was just...
There's that fantastic... I was at a Comic-Con in Florida just the other day.
Yeah.
And, as you do. And that fantastic... As we got into the hotel room, there was a Harry Potter on the telly. There you go. And not because there was a Comic-Con there, it just happened to be on the telly. And there was that fantastic scene where Richard Harris as Dumbledore says to Daniel, Harry Potter, he said, "You've got something they haven't got, Harry." And he puts his hand on his head and says, "Love, Harry, love." And I remember that brought tears. You know how an actor can make you cry just with 6 words? You've got something, "Love, Harry, love." 7 maybe. Anyway, brilliant performer. He
was, yeah, definitely. And another one is sadly missed. Richard Harris. So the last one from Simon is talking about Rome. This one is Rome was cancelled because of money issues, because it was very expensive, involving production resources in Italy, and HBO execs admit that cancelling was a mistake. Would you be happy if there was a return for a 3rd season of Rome? How would you see it going if it did happen?
Well, funny enough, I was in the episode of Casualty I filmed the other day. Rick Warden, who played one of the characters, and forgive me, I can't remember who he was, but he's a lovely actor, very shorter than most people are. Rick Warden, very good. And we were reminiscing so happily again. I keep saying what happy jobs there were, but many of them are, thankfully. Otherwise it'd be a misery. And he was. We were talking about the fact that they mismanaged it in a way, that it should really. They had that massive scene. It should have gone on, and it's such a shame. and I think they think it was a shame, particularly as I believe they cancelled the third series the day before the DVD box set of Series 1 shot to the top of the American box office. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, you know what they were doing there. It's a shame it didn't go on. It had a lot more life in it. But then it was not cheap. It was a big show. But I mean, I don't care that they didn't do a third series purely selfishly, because of course I died at the Battle of the in Series 2, so it doesn't matter to me unless they're going to resurrect me, and bring Cassius back from the dead. It didn't matter to me, but it was a wonderful experience, I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what some of these networks do with the shows and looking at budgets. I mean, the whole reason my show is called Hellblazer Biz, there was a TV show called Constantine with Matt Ryan, who you might have met at one of the Comic Cons, played the character, and it was cancelled after 13 episodes because each episode was, I think it was 3-4 million, I think, or maybe more to make, because the production value, the production set, they had a huge library, but every book was a real book. And that's because they wanted to go into that much of the depth into the universe of that character. So unfortunately, it got canned because of money. And then after that, it's just like Rome. It just went in popularity.
Yeah, I have heard of it. Yeah. No, it's odd, isn't it? I don't know.
It's very, very strange. And Suzanne, she's one of your fans on your Facebook page. If you have any personal projects that you would love to do either on stage or TV that you haven't done yet?
On stage, I'd love to do a play called Shadowlands by William Nicholson, about the story of the writer C.S. Lewis, who was over at the Narnia stories, and it was it's the story of the meeting. He was a crusty old bachelor, and again, it's one of those dry, desiccated characters who thaws and finds love, and it's a most brilliant true story, and moving, and I thought it was a lovely play, and I saw Nigel Hawthorne do it in the West End, and it was made into a very syrupy, not very good film with Anthony Hopkins and Deborah Singer, so people should ignore that. I don't know if it's still available. The original was a television film with Joss Ackland and Claire Bloom, and from that he developed the stage play, I believe. And I'm very angry at the moment indeed, because that my dear friend and really close friend, Hugh Bonneville of Downton and many other things, he is doing the play this year at Tuesday.
Is he? No.
I'm going to go along. I'm not going to tell him which night, so I won't mention it, but I'm going to go along and sit there and seethe with envy. I know that I'll love him because he's a wonderful actor, so won't be able to help myself. But I'm very cross that he's doing it. But then Hugh is a very famous man now, and he's also very good at getting things done. I've talked to myself, Beckney, about doing Shadowlands for the last, I don't know how many years, and done bugger all about it.
Whereas he's gone and done
it. So I should have got off my skinny little bottom and done it myself. Mind you, if he mucks it up, I'll do it again in a few years. And
yes. And maybe he'll do it on the night that you go there, so you can go, Sorry. Throwing back to when I was doing the school musicals, I had, on a very, very unrelated note, it's kind of related, but it's very different level. I got pulled out of the school musical because I was Nicholas Nickleby in Smike that I was given the role of. Which was, I think, the lead in the musical, I believe. I've never heard of it before. I've never heard of it since, to be honest. But I was
Smike, the musical.
Yeah, Smike, the musical.
I have heard of it. Yeah,
I was.
Very good song in it, actually. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, people think they see a mountain, but it's just I can even remember the lyrics to some of the song. But that was mine, and I got pulled out because it was in my A-level year. My parents obviously wanted to concentrate on the A-level, so they said, "You can't do drama, silly," and pulled me. I won't knock them ever for what they did, but. I went and sat and watched the person who did the role instead. And I wasn't happy at the person who did the role because I'd heard him sing. I wasn't a very good singer. I can't admit to ever being that.
But he was even worse.
He was even worse. And so I just sat there with tears. And it's like you just reminded me. Tears down my face, looking at him going, that could have been me. I was like, and it's like, you've wrecked it.
Yes, I wonder what he's doing now. probably in the chorus of Les Miserables, singing badly.
I think he might actually be. And I think he might.
They do, of course. In that.
Well, no, not of course. But I do actually think he did join. He's in the chorus lines of some musical somewhere.
Really, I was joking.
I know.
Thought he was that bad a singer. He probably wouldn't have got through.
I think he got lessons and things, to be honest.
Well, anyway, sod him.
Yes, sod him. It was 25 years ago. I'm still
and you've never forgotten it.
No, it's always there. Oh dear. Right, I'm going to ask you my signature question now, Guy, because we've come to the end, sad. And I don't want to keep you from your lamb any longer. This is a totally off-the-wall question. 2 years ago, I had a guest on my show who has been worked with Jim Henson for 30 years. And in fact, you wouldn't have met him because he wasn't in Rogue One. He plays Nine Numb, the monkey-faced character, but he's been in every other one of the sagas. He's the only one, apparently, to have remained alive from Return of the Jedi right through to The Last Jedi, which is quite... of the side characters, which is quite impressive. But anyway, the question was, if you could have a Muppet created after your own character, what kind of Muppet would it be and why? Now, I'm very careful who I ask this question to, because some people I probably might not get an answer from. I think yours would be actually quite interesting to hear.
If they created a Muppet out of Tarkin, you mean?
No, out of yourself, out of your
own.
Out of
me?
Yeah, out of you, out of Guy Henry, the Guy Henry Muppet.
Well, he'd be an idiot Muppet, obviously. A sort of arrogant idiot Muppet. I don't really know. With very, very long legs. I think that's probably it. I don't really know what other sort of Muppet he might be, do you? Don't answer that.
Yeah, no.
I've never been on... I don't... do I? Maybe I don't know enough about the Muppets. Maybe I'm not quite getting your question.
Possibly. I don't know. He could be Big Bird, I suppose, because he had long legs, didn't he?
Oh, which of the real Muppets?
Well, you could have your own Muppet, or you could have even an existing Muppet. You could mix them together. It doesn't really matter.
The one that the one that used to make me roar with laughter is that sort of dog one with the ears who plays the piano.
Rolf.
Rolf, it is Rolf. I was going to say Rolf. Yes, I loved him. I mean, I'm not like him, and I can't play the piano, so it might very well. But anyway,
he was a good character.
I'd probably really, bearing in mind, I keep saying how old I am. I'd probably be one of those. I'd be a sort of tall idiot version of the grumpy old men in the...
Statler and Waldorf.
Yeah, in fact, I will go dressed as one of those when I go and see Hugh Bonneville muck up Chaperland.
Yeah, and you just sit there and just... Oh dear. See, I can only do my lip. Piggy, you need it on set, Piggy. That's my Kermit impression.
That was. Can you do halfway up the stairs? Is the stair where I sit?
Yeah. No. I did.
Oh,
I sang. Was it? Why are there so many songs about rainbows? Yeah, I can do that bit.
I love that one.
I love that song.
Oh, perhaps he didn't do halfway up the stairs. Is the stair where I sit? Yeah, I think he did once.
I'm sure it was. And my Yoda. You got to hear my Yoda, guy. Sorry, I'm gonna. Since you were in Star Wars, this is a must. It's when 900 years old, you look as good. You will not.
Brilliant. If only I knew about Star Wars, I'd.
I know you'd think it was good.
Only I'd watch the whole thing.
Exactly. See, it's like.
Yes. Very good.
Yeah.
No, it was very good. I have heard that sound before.
I'm glad. I was going to say, you can't to go through this much of your career in acting and not have even heard Yoda. That would. But I'll let you off with Kermit. And
I did. I love it.
Before I stop the recording, is there anything you would like to say to people who are watching or listening to this?
Well, keep watching, obviously. Keep going to the theatre and the cinema, because when I was younger, in another country in the West End, there were 12 theatres that were dark. And the cinema industry was not as robust as it is now. Mm-hmm. So do the streaming of your movies and do the the Blu-rays and things, but keep going out of doors and into cinemas and theatres, because I think it remains the best, really.
Thank you so much. That was absolutely fantastic. I hope everybody enjoyed listening to or watching that, and please join me for more. If you'd like to see more, please go to YouTube and subscribe to Hellblazer Biz. Go to iTunes, look for Hellblazer Biz and hit subscribe. Google Play, Spotify. Where else is it? Google Music, I believe it's on as well now. Buzzsprout. Anyway, just search for Hellblazer Biz and subscribe. My website is www.hellblazerbiz.com. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram as Hellblazer Biz, and Facebook is facebook.com/HellblazerBiz2. Please go and hit like and subscribe, and please share. Like, comment, and share. And that's the only way this show will survive. I appreciate all of your support. As always, this has been Chris Gordon on Hellblazer Biz saying, till next time.